the chair for the 2018 Fire District.
District 1,
Narcan.
District 2, District 3, District 4, District 5, District 6, District 7, District 9. Narcan is appointed chair.
All right. Okay, now we're going to move to need a nomination for the 2018 Treasurer Secretary. Can I get a nomination for that? Got a nomination for Mr. Castillo as Treasurer Secretary. Anyone else? Oh, I'm sorry, I need to go back to the other one. Was there any public comment on the election of the fire chair? Okay. We have a nomination for Councilman Castillo for the Treasury Secretary. Not seeing anything. Anybody else? Any public comment?
Sir.
For that? Okay, all right. Call the vote for the 2018 Treasurer Secretary.
District 2? Yes. District 3? Yes. District 4? District 5? District 6?
Castillo.
District 7?
Castillo.
District 9? District 1?
Castillo.
Castillo is appointed Treasurer Secretary.
All right. Board announcements. As the fire chair, please be advised that the Lafayette Rural Fire District may consider resolutions calling for a tax election at its meeting on September the 4th, 2018, 5:30 p.m. at 705 West University Avenue, Lafayette, Louisiana. V, is there any additional public comment for this initial meeting on the Rural Fire District?
Roderick Robinson.
Okay.
Kevin, is this something that's supposed to be something about the fire stations in the rural area? That this is about?
It's not the fire stations, but it's basically having protection in the unincorporated areas and having fire service.
And that's going to be as a property tax? Going to come up for election by the people before this is passed?
Yes, sir.
Not by nobody else?
No, sir. It has to go to the voters. Yes, sir.
The vote and stuff like
Yes.
that? Just
And,
like,
and that tax or that millage that is going to be considered would fund the personnel and would fund equipment and potentially, if there's some land in the unincorporated area where we're having major problems with fires, we can potentially look at something at that point. But mainly it's the response, additional personnel at the volunteers because they're struggling, nobody's volunteering, personnel's hard to find, and put something in place that can save our fire rating in the unincorporated area. But it's going to be on a vote of the people, of the unincorporated areas only.
oh, it's just unincorporated area?
Yes,
We
sir.
get to vote on this here?
Yes, sir, because it's the fire district's going to just include the rural area and the unincorporated area. So nobody from Scott, Dusson, Lafayette, or Youngsville, Broussard, or Karen Crowe are going to vote. It's going to be those people in that rural district that are in the
Now,
unincorporated areas.
what about all the volunteer fire departments that's around and stuff? Would this money also go to
Yes, sir.
help them out?
Yes, sir.
Even if they in the other areas?
Yes, sir.
And stuff like that, you know,
Yep.
so, that's gonna be a hard thing, you know, the volunteer been doing a good job on what they got, and if it's something about the fire rating getting knocked down and stuff like that.
Yes, sir.
But y'all know when that thing is, y'all know what's coming up. You don't wait to the last minute for that to update your equipment. You know, that's the only concern, you know. It sounds like almost every time it's always waited to the last minute, and when y'all can't supply this stuff.
Well,
on
we've been
demand.
talking about it for years. It's just that it takes so much time, and you got to get with the chief, and you got to figure out what are the issues we're having, personnel, equipment. It costs a lot of money to update equipment. The insurance companies are always changing the requirements on what you have to have and on certain points, and it affects the rating. So, I mean, it's something that we've been looking at for a long, long time. The volunteers have been reaching out to us saying we need help because there's nobody volunteering because they got their own jobs, their own family, they work. And so what's happening is the response time in our unincorporated area is just really delayed. And the people that are getting there to fight the fire, they don't have enough personnel on the truck to fight the fire. So they have to wait for the other town to come. And then there's no fire hydrants in the unincorporated area, so they got to wait on a water truck to come. So all of these things have been going on, and we've been trying to address them, trying to save the rating by buying fire CBs and radios. It's just we're at the point that the volunteers need some help.
But they give you a grace period on it before this fire rating is and stuff like that, whenever you get this. They got time to buy this stuff instead of putting a millage on. They got time where you can put a little money in at a time and save that. Y'all know ahead what y'all need and don't need, because if y'all got classes to go to and everything else, y'all know ahead of time before this thing comes out. Right? And when you got to buy something, instead of buying 10 at a time, then you buy 30. You get a better discount. It's all this stuff y'all got to look forward to and stuff, instead of putting millage on top of millage on property owners and stuff like that. And it don't sound like a good idea to me.
Yeah.
I trust my volunteer fire department and stuff like that. They work good and everything else.
The volunteers are doing very well with what they got, but they're not adequate enough, so the insurance company is going to rate you higher, which means you're going to pay higher in insurance.
Well,
So-
it is what it is, and stuff like that, because higher in insurance, and I get to still keep my property. Higher on property tax, and I can't come up with the money, they take my property.
If you can't pay your insurance, that's you
But
got no
I
protection.
could drop my insurance, take my chances there, where I don't have to take it. But I drop my property, but I don't have the money to pay for my property because this rate keeps going up, I lose my property. That's how you got to kind of look at it too. Tax is a little bit too much. In other words, my big saying on this here, they got too many chiefs, no Indians to get the work done. Y'all need to stop all that stuff. Look at your parts to cost. I told y'all one earlier today.
Yeah.
Look at that, and y'all gonna see all this wasteful money that y'all doing. Good for laws and all that, but some of the laws y'all put is ridiculous. What the government used to do for us, they don't do no more, and our taxes go up.
Yeah.
I just found out today they don't cut right-of-ways for the roads. Here in y'all. And they used to do that all in the police jury. So we got consolidated and nothing get done. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, any other speakers?
No, sir.
Okay. I'm going to adjourn the fire district meeting. Now we're going to move and call to order the special joint meeting of the Lafayette City Parish Council and the LPUA. This is a joint meeting of the council and LPUA to introduce the budget. At times during the meeting, I will defer to LPUA Vice Chair Nanette Cook to preside over LPUA matters. This is a public hearing, and green cards should be blue cards, right? No? Oh, okay. Green cards are available for anyone wishing to address the council and LPUA. The 5-minute rule does apply. I will be presiding over the budget reviews as finance chair, with the first meeting being scheduled for August the 9th to hear the budgets for Parks and Recreation, Development and Planning, Adult Correction, Information Services, and the Lafayette Police Department. Copies of the budget calendar may be found posted here at City Hall, posted at all libraries. It's also available at the council office front desk, and it is also available on the LCG website. Each review will be broadcasted live by AOC. Please be advised that the department budget reviews each begin at 1 p.m. A citizen may speak on budget matters related to the department or departments being discussed on that day. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing for citizen input on the budget on matters related to the proposed fiscal year 18-19 budget will be held Tuesday, August 21st at 5:30 p.m. here at 705 West University Avenue in this council auditorium. Citizen input is encouraged. If you would like to view a full copy of the proposed budget document, it will be available online at www.lafayettela.gov. Council announcements. Seeing none. Executive Mayor, President's report. I'd like to recognize, Mr. Lowell says he doesn't have anything. Okay. Introductory ordinance. Regarding the introductory ordinance, I will ask Jeremy to read the ordinance. I will then call for a motion from the council to introduce the ordinance. Then the LPUA Vice Chair Nanette Cook will ask for a motion from the LPUA to introduce the ordinance. Therefore, the administration will be recognized for budget comments and CFO Laurie Toops for finance presentation. Jeremy, can you please read?
Ordinance 122, 2018, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council and the Lafayette Public Utilities Authority adopting an operating and 5-year capital improvement budget of revenues and expenditures for the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government for the fiscal year beginning November 1st, 2018 and ending October 31st, 2019.
Okay, at this time, I'll go ahead and give the floor. Oh, no, I'm not. At this time, I need a motion, a second from the council to consider introduction. Motion by Councilman Castillo, second by Councilman Lewis. Please call the vote. Oh, at this time, I'm sorry. I'm gonna go ahead and ask, turn it over to Ms. Cook, LPUA. Go ahead.
I just need a motion and a second from the LPUA to consider the introductory ordinance. A motion from Conk and a second from Lewis.
Okay, at this time, I'll give the floor to the mayor president for the budget comments, and he's not here. Oh, yeah, you are here. You just showed up. Wow. Where you been all night? Councilman, I'm sorry. I already demoted you in the trust. So, Mayor,
No comments.
no comment?
No, sir.
You sure?
I'm positive. All right. Ms. Toops,
Then, Ms.
gonna
Toops,
take over.
you have the floor. Your mic's on.
Good evening. Once again, I'm happy to be here before you to introduce the proposed operating and capital budget for our next fiscal year. Before we get started, I want to give special thanks to the Office of Finance and Management staff. We worked real hard. We've been working on this since April, and we've had a few hoops to jump through, which maybe we'll get to later. But for now, once again,
Another budget award.
we received a budget award for our fiscal 16-17 budget. Our 17-18 budget is still under review by the GFOA. We hope again that our budget conforms to the program requirements. We also received the CAFR award for 15-16. Our 16-17 CAFR was just recently submitted to the GFOA, and hopefully that CAFR also conforms to the program requirements. The importance of this program, and you knowing that we're working to get this program, is that you know that our budget document and our audit reports, our financial reports, are reviewed by independent people across the United States. It's not people in Lafayette, it's not people in Louisiana. They review our documents to make sure that we're giving you the best practices. We're giving you information that you need to make the decisions that you have to make on how to run our government. So we're not meeting just the minimum financial statement reporting. We're actually meeting a higher level of responsibility. What's new in this budget? In LUS, as a result of our audit finding, you will see a new department for LUS Communications. However, it's not going to look any different than what it did last year because it was always reported as a separate department. It will still have the same account numbers, so you'll see the history. The only thing that you'll see that is different is the addition of a division in that fund that would house the administrative expenses for LUS Fiber. LUS Fiber. You will see a new section under development and planning called permitting. Eventually, they hope to take over all of the permitting and collections from the Revenue Collection Division. You will see 311 City Parish Communications Services move from IS&T to the CAO. IS&T provides services to our internal departments. The CAO is responsible to everybody, and we felt that moving the 311 Services Division where it could more closely work with our Chief Communication Officer was a better fit. You will see in this project where we had, in this proposed budget, where we had unfunded bond projects in the current adopted budget, and we were not able to fund them because we didn't have State Bond Commission authority. What we did is move those bond projects into future years in the bond program. So as we get the additional bonding authority coming with this budget after it's adopted, will be able to work on those projects. You will also see the reclassification of some retiree healthcare expenses. We have some new codes. You're going to see a new code under the fire department, but the police department always had theirs split out. So we're just kind of doing some housekeeping with that, and so you'll see some reclassifications of expenses related to retiree health insurance. And you'll also see a reduction. We had a general line item just for general governmental retirees, and so you'll see that line item go down. You will not see a pay increase in this proposed budget, and you will also not see an increase in group health insurance premiums. We have not increased group health insurance premiums since November of 2012.
Can you say that again?
We have not increased group health insurance premiums since November of 2012.
And there's no pay increase in here, right?
There's no pay increase in this proposed budget. This proposed budget does adhere to the financial policies established by the administration. You may recall back at the beginning of 2010, 2011, we were down to 16 days of operations in the city general fund. We had to do major budget cuts. We had a hiring freeze. In the budget process, we actually eliminated 70-something vacant positions, which is essentially a layoff. So in order to avoid that situation, we set some policies in place limiting the use of fund balance. It helped us maintain our bond ratings, and also it helped us to rebuild some fund balance, so that way when sales taxes are on a decline or we have an economic downturn, we're able to get through that period and have time to react. Whereas when our fund balance fell so low to 16 days in the city general fund, we really didn't have time to react. We had to make decisions immediately.
Sorry.
What is our current fund balance?
It's estimated to be 40 million in the city general fund.
In which you're talking about in 1011, it was at 9 million?
9.1.
Yes,
And
it was not, it was 9 million, and we used 8 million in that year. So the following year, we had to do drastic cuts, or we would have been left with just $1 million.
Those 77 vacancies, that was across the board?
That was across the board in all the funds funded by the city general fund.
Oh, okay.
Which, you know, at that time, it was Public Works, it was police. I'm not sure if fire was cut, but we did have to cut quite a number of positions. And we cut the vacant positions to avoid a layoff, but essentially, you know, they were positions that were previously filled.
So you're anticipating 40 million in fund balance, and what is your number that you're working off of on the previous administration's policy on the 20%?
Yes, we're still, the 20% is a best practices number, so we're still working on maintaining a level of a minimum of 20% in the city general fund. I would like to do that in the parish general fund, but we really don't, we don't have the money to do that.
What's the dollar amount? The 20 percentile, what is going to be that dollar amount?
That's on another slide.
I would like to know now.
If you'd like to know now, it's going to be around 20-something million.
So you, of the 40, when the budget process is over, you're asking that there's at least 20-something million remaining?
No, we are proposing that there's 40 million in this proposed budget.
So you're going above the previous administration's policy of 20%?
We've always been aiming for that 40 million, and that was what was left. That's where we've kind of been staying around since the previous administration, was 40 million.
So we have two targets, 20% and 40 million?
Yes, we do.
But you could only hit one target.
Well,
So
that's our goal in this proposed budget.
Is the 20% the same goal of the 40 million is what he's
The
asking?
the problem with that is that it's not reoccurring money. So if you budget to use too much of your fund balance for reoccurring expenditures, then eventually you're going to get back down to the 8 or 9 million. So, you know, I encourage you, if you're going to dip into that money, that it not be for a reoccurring expense. But you're the council, and you will eventually instruct me how this budget's going to be at the end of the budget process.
Your other slide is gonna have that exact number, that 20-something, the other slide gonna have an exact number?
No, it's going to tell you what percentage of expenditures we have. So it'll say like something like 39% or something, if I remember correctly.
Wait, let's just get to that slide.
39, no, we at this point right now, and we need to be clear on, because I heard a 20% goal, but we have 40 million, but 20% of our budget is 20-something million, but we want to try to maintain 40. We got public employees who haven't received any pay increases in some years. I appreciate the fact that health premiums have not gone up, but other life necessities have. So, you know, and we're being left behind. I just saw an advertisement where another neighboring police department is about to start off at $40,000 annually, which we're gonna, you know, have to deal with that eventually as it relates to our goals. And what I said that I wasn't gonna do in this budget year, and it's gonna start tonight, is that we're gonna stop misleading the public, because every time you go to ask for revenue, you know, people think you're asking for their right arm and their left leg. But we can't keep up. So that's the only reason I wanna make sure we're gonna be so thorough. I intend to be so thorough this year in this budget process. I think we need to paint a truer picture for our constituents so they could really understand what we're up against, so when things don't get done, and you know, we had a lot of people in the room about drainage for a couple of months in a row, you know, but we know what has happened to drainage crews over the last, 10 years. So we just gonna have to be a little bit more thorough. That's why when we start talking about goals, projections, policies, and what is actually law, I wanna do it at a second grade level, so everybody could see, and even like Mr. Roger could understand.
Yeah,
So that's what I have for now. Thank you very much.
that'll work. I might need kindergarten.
We have lots of other financial policies that are described in the introduction section of the proposed budget book. Those policies include a debt policy, an expenditure policy, and a budgetary policy. In this proposed budget, we are projecting about a 1% reduction in city sales taxes and about a 14% reduction in parish unincorporated sales taxes. And that is based on the current trend. We are projecting, did I miss a slide? Let's see. Yeah, sales tax distribution. In the city of Lafayette, not including the TIF districts, 53 cents of every dollar of sales tax paid goes to the state. 24 cents of every dollar goes to the school. The remaining pieces go to the city of Lafayette, where you'll see only 8 cents of that is available for general governmental purposes, and that's what's available in the city general fund. In the unincorporated areas, and this is updated as of July 1st with the new reduction at the state level, in the unincorporated areas, the state gets the same 53 cents, the school gets the same 24 cents, and the difference is divided equally between the parish general fund and the sheriff, and that's the amount of money that the parish general fund has to provide general governmental services at the parish level. We are projecting that assessed valuations will remain level for next year. You may recall that in the current budget, we budgeted a 2% increase, thinking that assessed valuations would go up 2%. They ended up going up less than 1%. So rather than overestimate ad valorem taxes, we're estimating them at a level amount. Other items affecting revenue in this budget, I've been telling you since 2010 that our federal transit grants are down, so it's taken more money to subsidize city transit, and we'll see those amounts in a later slide. You'll also see an increase in revenue in the risk management fund, but you will see a corresponding increase in expenditures in uninsured losses and workers' compensation losses. Those are a revenue expense match. You'll see an increase in refuse collection fees, and also you'll see ILOT as a major component of the city general fund revenues. It's always a major component. It provides about 23.5% of city general fund revenue. I like to remind y'all every year that there's two parts to the ILOT calculation. The first part is the calculation of the ILOT, which has to do with revenues that are coming in. Doesn't have anything to do with expenditures or money going out. That's the calculation of what the ILOT should be. At the end of the day, if they've spent too much money in O&M cost or in debt service costs, and they don't reach a certain number that they could put away into their savings account, then they don't pay the ILOT. So if we budget too high expenditures in LUS Utilities Division, then there may not be enough money to pay the full ILOT. It's wanting me to go fast. I'm hitting double every time I hit it. You'll see some expenditure changes in this budget. Public Works is increasing $3.1 million. That's primarily due to the new Stormwater Management Fund. General accounts are decreasing $2.9 million. Most of that is in accrued sick leave of $1.3 million, and you'll see a decrease of about $1 million in internal appropriations to the city general fund. You will see elected officials, that's you guys, increasing about $1.4 million.
Explain that to me.
Yes, that's easy to
'Cause
explain.
I sure can tell you that we didn't increase.
You're not increasing anything. No, you're not increasing. What that is an increase.
Claire, make sure you get that good. You know, that does not look right. Elected officials increase. You got to word that different.
I know, that's why I pointed it out in the presentation, because if you open the budget book, as some people do, they just open the budget book and pull a number without the explanation, they won't have a full picture. What we had to do was increase the reserves for new debt service. We recently went to the bond, well, at the beginning of this year, we went to the Bond Commission for approval for $71 million of new projects. So we opened up all those projects in the system, and we can start spending money on those projects, but we had some bond money to spend. So we're spending our bond money, but we got over $71 million of projects that we're actively spending on. Once we reach a threshold and run out of that old bond money, we got permission to borrow $71 million more. We need to provide money to pay that note. So that is what we need for the existing authorization that we have. That doesn't account for any new authorization. I'm figuring that the new authorization will come through in the next fiscal year. So this would cover the note on $71 million that we already have permission to borrow.
Where's the $71 million? That's the city of Lafayette
That is.
projects?
Yes, that is the City of Lafayette Sales Tax Bond Program.
That's what I want to make sure that the public understands when you say that, because I don't want them to think that the parish got $71 million and we can, you know, I want to make sure you're clear
That is
publicly.
$71 million that was approved by the State Bond Commission from the City Sales Tax Bond Program. And that money actually comes from 65% of every city sales tax receipt goes into capital. We can only use the remainder for operating. So that's where that money comes from.
Okay.
And that's from the city sales tax.
Councilman Cole.
Is there any other way to express that? Because I promise you, that's going to be on a website tomorrow morning. It's on it now. Wouldn't surprise me.
Is there any other way? Well, no, the reserves are listed under the elected officials. They've always, any reserves of fund balance has always been listed under elected officials. We can move that, we can change that, but at this time, that's the way the accounts were set up. And what that is money that we are setting off to the side to pay for the bonds we already have permission to issue. It's,
I understand that, you understand that, but read that line. Elected officials increasing 1.4 million.
yes, if you look at the budget book and at the accounts, it's going to say that.
They got an award for
That's, that's the way the system was set up. Now, when we get a new system, we can change it. But that is why I am pointing out what those increases are, so that.
My point, Laurie, is they're going to go for that one line and use it as fodder against us.
Yes, sir.
So I just wanted to make that, I was hoping you had some other way of expressing that, but apparently not.
No, it is the money that we have to put off to the side to pay that debt service. I think the reason why it's under elected officials is because the council at some time wanted to make sure that when that money was used, it had to go back before them. So what'll happen is when we actually issue the bonds, we come back before you and we do the budget amendment at that time, taking it from that line item and moving it into the debt service. So you have a second shot at approving or disproving, but you've already approved the issue of the bonds.
The concern is not with the accounts are. The concern is not actually what the accounts do. It's how it's written on this document and evidently how it's written in the budget book. Based on what you said, I don't see why the wording can't be bond accounts, bond reserve accounts for Lafayette, for the city of Lafayette or the parish of Lafayette, which is under the council office, are increasing. Those accounts are increasing, not elected officials increasing. The accounts underneath the elected official's office is increasing. That's what's the question, is the title of what it's being done here.
We can certainly amend the presentation and repost it online.
That's a good start.
I'm sorry, that's the way we've always done it.
I've never seen it like this before.
Well, this is the first time that we're doing the bond program the way we're doing it, where we went out and got a permission for a chunk of money, but yet we never borrowed that chunk of money. So now we have to account for that debt service, but they've always been listed under elected officials like that, so.
So to clarify, the elected officials have not increased nothing.
The elected officials did not increase.
Put in bold letters, Claire. Bold letters.
They did not increase their requested budget at all, I believe.
Okay, no, you said it right, at all. We
Yeah.
didn't increase nothing. Because if I can increase my budget by 1.4 million, I think we'd have had a lot of projects done. The
No.
point is, we didn't do it. It's the way you worded it. There's money left over so we can pay the bonds, and it's $71 million is city sales tax.
Yes, and I apologize for that. If that was an oversight on my part, when I saw the totals in the book, I knew immediately I had to provide an explanation.
It's just the public can take something like that, mislead it, and then run with it a mile, and you never can get them back. So, the mayor president, can you label it as Mayor President Robideau has increased 1.4? Oh, that's what he's saying? Oh. Yeah.
I absolutely see it right now.
Yeah.
At the time when we were plowing through this, I just knew I had to provide an
So
explanation.
you threw the council under the bus?
No, I provided an explanation.
Well, it's all, you were elected? Oh, my bad. Well, it needs to make sure this is elected official and mayor president on that. And, Mr. Lowell next to you too.
He's not elected.
All right, continue. We clear. You got it clear. All right, thank you.
Okay. Personnel changes in this budget, you'll see some changes throughout, At the end of the day, it was a net zero. If we look at the parish-wide revenue and expenditures first, this is parish-wide millages and all the parish-wide funds. The budget in all of the parish-wide funds is, the revenues are proposed to be about $82.9 million. Out of this $82.9 million, $60 million is from ad valorem property tax paid parish-wide, and $9 million is from internal transfers. Expenditures in this budget are budgeted to be $81.4 million. Out of that $81.4 million, $12.4 million is in the parish general fund, and that's what's available to pay for parish general governmental services and parish mandates that don't have a dedicated millage. $69 million is dedicated to funds that are restricted. Those are restricted by the voters, and they have their own special revenue funds.
Lori, and this reflects, the current budget is at 96 million, so this reflects your reduction in anticipated revenues, obviously. So will we just subtract 81.4 from the 96 that we currently have?
I'm sorry, I don't have the current numbers in front of me. So,
Okay. Straight question. How much of a reduction in the budget for the parish?
I do not have that comparison.
We're saying 96. Our current numbers, I'm gonna help you out, said 96. And then we were left with 12 after we do everything. So this is saying we're at 81.4.
I thought that the budget for the parish was in the 80 millions. That's why I didn't want to say 96 is incorrect, but if you allow me to grab a current budget book, I can tell you in a second.
No, that's good. Go ahead.
Okay.
Keep going.
So the parish general fund is budgeted at $12.4 million. All of the special revenue funds are budgeted at $69 million. That's the dedicated special revenue taxes that are restricted by voters. There is no money dedicated strictly to capital at the parish level, but the money that is available in the parish general fund and the money that is available in the restricted funds can be used for maintenance and operations or capital. There is no restriction from using it for capital. Parish ad valorem tax is budgeted at about $60.3 million if we levy the millage rates the same as they are today. So we haven't put the ordinance before you to levy the millage rates, but in this proposed budget, we're estimating that the millages will be levied at the same level they're levied this year, and it'll generate about $60.3 million. Out of all the revenues, I mentioned earlier that $60 million is from property tax, and this chart here just shows you a breakout of all the property taxes levied parish-wide. You'll note that I did separate the drainage maintenance from the new storm water management millage, and that generate together about $9.9 million for drainage. If we look at the property taxes paid by the citizens of the parish of Lafayette, across the board for every dollar collected, 39% is dedicated to the schools, the public school system. 20% is dedicated to the sheriff's office. 8% is dedicated to other entities, that's Tesh Vermillion, Bayou Vermillion Airport. Right where that yellow arrow at the top of the dollar starts, that begins the money that you as a governing body will be looking at during this proposed budget process. That is 33% of every property tax dollar paid parish-wide runs through LCG, and that's what is in this proposed budget. This is a list of funds that are parish-wide operational funds. You can find this on page 47 in your budget book. On page 47, you will see 2 years' worth. You'll see the estimated current year and then the proposed fiscal 18-19. Several of these funds are subsidized from the Parish General Fund. You will see the War Memorial and the Coroner's Fund subsidized from the Parish General Fund, and you will see the Correctional Center being subsidized by the Courthouse Complex Fund. Those operating subsidies at the parish level right now are $2.5 million and are estimated to increase to $2.7 million in 3 years. Now, if we look at just the Parish General Fund revenues are projected in this budget at $11.7 million. You can see there's two main sources of Parish General Fund revenues. That is ad valorem taxes and sales taxes. Parish General Fund expenditure.
Dr. Laurie,
Sure.
you had mentioned to us a while back that I believe it was sales tax revenues were $800,000 below estimates. What number are you using for this one in terms of a decrease?
We are using a 14% decrease.
What does it translate into dollars?
Into dollars?
I'm just curious as to whether that's the equivalent of the 800,000 that we're having a shortfall of the current budget.
It's a little bit more than that, I think.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I apologize. Next time I'll be more prepared for questions. I don't think we've had questions at the introduction, and with it being so late, I might not be as prepared.
Setting the stage for the budget review.
Yeah,
That's
you're good,
fine.
you're good. Just need to make sure anything comes out, don't put no elected officials on it.
Well, that's part of what I was going to tell you earlier, is we are at the end of life on our budget software, so we will be having a new budget software. So if there are any changes that you really want to see, this budget process is a good time to let us know. The Parish General Fund expenditures are budgeted at $12.4 million. You can see that most of the Parish General Fund is used to fund the district court system in the parish of Lafayette.
And just to be clear, that's coming out of the general fund and there's no dedicated funding for that.
There's no dedicated funding that is coming from the Parish General Fund.
To cover those expenses for the court.
Right.
District attorney. Okay.
Any millages that are dedicated to a specific source are in their own special revenue fund and cannot be used for any general governmental purposes. Here is a summary of the Parish General Fund pro forma. You can find this on page 39 in your budget book. The important things to see here is that we're projecting revenues at 11 million, expenditures at 12 million. We're going to be using excess fund balance, and we're estimating we're going to end up with about $100,000 in fund balance. I do want you to know that there was a couple of requests made from LCG. We had a verbal request from the Justice of the Peace and Constables wanting to know if there was any way we could pick up the budget reductions that were made at the state level, if we could fund those reductions. That was not put in this budget. Also, we received a written request from the Department of Veterans Affairs wanting to increase our funding for the Parish Veteran Service Officer from $41,827 to $59,692, and to fund some extra maintenance and operation expenditures, and that is also not included in this budget.
And you said the fund balance after all this is 105,000?
We're estimating it to be 105, but remember, as we make changes during the budget process and those changes roll through the city parish allocation, that can go up or down based on that.
And their request was after the 105 estimated?
Those requests are not in the budget.
Right,
We
but
did-
if never mind, we're good.
The parish drainage fund pro forma is the special revenue account for the original drainage millage. This is not the storm water management fund. It will be found on page 45 of your budget book. You will see that we budgeted this fund with the ending fund balance of 0. So we budgeted all the money we expect to take in the drainage fund. We budgeted it at all the expenditures. So everything that we have coming in is going to go out. If we make any changes in the parish drainage fund, we'll have to find a corresponding or offsetting change in order to keep that fund at 0 or above 0. It can't be budgeted into the negative.
Does this factor in the 9 million in cash?
No, that is in the storm water management fund. This is the original drainage fund. We kept the fund separate because it's a separate millage. This does not factor in that. This is and the reason why I put this pro forma in several years ago is when we shifted the employees around and had some changes in accounting and funding. So I just want to make sure that you see this every year and you see how much money is available. But this is the fund that pays for drainage projects as well as employees and maintenance and operations in drainage.
And you predicting 0.
We're projecting, we projected that we would spend everything that we have coming in this budget, but you're probably going to change that during the budget process. I'm just letting you know that we can't go below 0.
Okay.
And I need to take a break and get some water. The Parish Road and Bridge Fund is on page 44 in your proposed budget book, and you will see that we budgeted this fund to end up with about a $1.9 million fund balance. And this is the fund that has the employees as well as the maintenance and operation expenditures of the road and bridge functions parish-wide. Now moving on to the city and the city's budget. The total city budget, all funds, is $478 million. $104 million is in the city general fund. These are expenditures that are budgeted, not revenues. Expenses budgeted in the city general fund are $104 million. And that's the money you have available for your municipal or city obligations and general governmental services. $341.6 million is in restricted funds. Those are city special revenue funds, LUS Fiber, and debt service funds. And you'll see $32.7 million in the city dedicated capital fund. Revenues and expenditures and fund balance. This is a summary of a chart that you'll find on page 46 of your budget document. Once again, you'll see 2 different years in the budget document is a little bit more detailed. All of these city funds listed here, except traffic safety, are subsidized by the city general fund. The city general fund in this proposed budget is subsidizing all of these funds by $11.9 million. If those subsidies increase 2% every year for the next 3 years, that $11.9 million is going to increase to $12.6 million. That's operating subsidies from the city general fund to other city functions. City ad valorem tax is projected to be about $28.3 million in this proposed budget. It is about 1% less than what we put in our original proposed budget from last year, but it's slightly more than what we're projecting we'll receive this year. City general fund revenues are $100.9 million. This is the breakout. We have three main components of city general fund revenues. It's property taxes, sales taxes, and the LUS ILOT. City general fund expenditures are budgeted at $104.1 million. 58% of that is budgeted for public safety. That's $60 million is going to public safety in this budget. Another $9.2 million to public works.
Okay.
Elected officials, 1%, 1,474,000.
Only 1% of this budget is going to elected officials. Was that better?
A little better. You wrote that small. Yeah, that's small.
It is. It's very conservative.
I'm sorry, I'm getting tired.
The city general fund pro forma is on page 38 of your budget book, and this is where I mentioned earlier where we have the percentages. We are estimating in this proposed budget to use $3 million. You can see that we're projecting in the current year we're going to use $4 million, and we're budgeting to use $3 million in 18-19, which will leave us a fund balance of $40,600,000. And that is 39.05% of our expenditures. City sales tax capital fund pro forma is on page 40 in your budget book. This fund also is budgeted at zero. So any changes in Fund 401 city sales tax capital will require a corresponding change in order to keep the budget in balance. And I provided for another sip of water, figuring it would get a little long here. So we'll move on to the city utility system pro forma. This is major lines only. If you try to add it up, it's not going to add. You need to look at page 41 of the budget book, and you'll see the details. What's important to note here in this proposed budget that we are estimating revenues of $253 million. We're estimating operating expenses at $200 million. After we pay our debt service, our principal and interest on our notes, we're estimating that we'll have $21.7 million available for new capital improvement and new debt service. The communication system fund pro forma is on page 42 in the proposed budget document. And what's important to note here is that after we have our revenues, our operating expenses, and we pay our full annual debt service of $11.2 million, we're estimating that we're going to have $7.3 million available for future capital improvements.
Councilman Cone?
It mentioned very early in the process, as well as Mr. Robideau, about hiring a division director. Is that salary and the benefits factored in?
Yeah, it's a department, not a division.
I'm sorry,
and
department.
yeah, and it is included in these numbers.
Thank you.
So if we look at entity-wide, this entire budget document and everything that you're going to be looking at over the next few months, you're going to be looking at a proposed operating and capital improvement budget that totals $633.2 million in expenditures. $116 million is in the city parish general funds. $475 million is in the restricted funds, dedicated funds. $42 million will be in the capital budget. In total, when we look at revenues, we're estimating $633.2 million in revenues. you'll see that 28% of our revenues, or $177 million, comes from taxes, and a large chunk, 39%, or $247 million, from utility sales. When we look at proposed expenditures in this budget, $419 million of our budget is for maintenance and operations, for reoccurring expenditures. The debt service is also reoccurring. That takes up $67.4 million, and the remainder, you can see, is divided between internal transfers, reserves, and capital outlay. In this budget, the $177 million is shown in this chart. Most of that money, or 63%, is generated through city taxes, either sales taxes or property taxes. $60 million is generated from parish-wide property taxes, and $3.9 million is generated from the unincorporated sales tax. This is just some miscellaneous statistics that I think shows the size of our government. You can look at, we have 279 uniformed police positions that responded to over 200,000 police calls last year. Our Public Works Department takes care of 1,800 miles of streets, 2,600 miles of drainage, ditches, and coulees, and 400 bridges. This is not every statistic, but we just tried to throw a little bit out there so that as we get into this budget, somebody who picks up our budget document has an idea of the size of our government. So I can show you the awards again, or what we really liked this year was our property tax dollar. We worked hard on that. And I wanted to thank the budget department. We had some real struggles this year and some illnesses. I didn't think I was going to cry, but we had some folks that really stepped up to the plate. And for us to be able to get this proposed budget out on time, I can't tell you how hard they worked. So I'm shook up, so I can't really tell them what I want to say, but I appreciate it. Well, some of them aren't able to be here because of those illnesses, and some of them have 2 jobs. But the ones that are here, they can stand up. Eric, stand up.
Thank you.
And Laura spent a lot of time on that dollar pie chart, so we just look at it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. And it's all, you did a great job, the whole staff. Thank you for what you've gone through and that you made it on time. And, you know, we're here to have a good time and we're here to get down to business, but we do appreciate what you do. And we sometimes, it wasn't that we are upset with the department or that we're not happy with the job you did. It's just we're at a time and era in society that people run with a headline and they turn it into something it's not, and we're trying to better the community. But what I'm trying to tell you is, as a council as a whole, you know, we laughing about it, we picking about it, but it's not coming from that we think you did it on purpose or that we're trying to jeopardize what we're trying to accomplish. I get it, and you're going through a lot, and so does the department, and we thank you for that, and the awards that you get, that's great. We really mean it.
Thank you. And you know, we had the illnesses to deal with. Then we have the end of life for our software system. So while we have people out sick, we had to do a proposal and choose a new computer system. And so the staff is doing all of that. And I just can't tell you that I have worked at 2 other governments, and I find the employees at Lafayette Consolidated Government are fully invested in their jobs. They put out more effort than what I think you will find another governmental employee. I have always found that about the employees at LCG. They amaze me. 6 o'clock on Friday, if they're in the middle of a project, they're not leaving. They're staying here working on that project. And I don't know if the people in Lafayette realize that the caliber of employees, their dedication is really strong. They're proud to work for LCG, and they're proud to work for the current administration. They really are.
That's great, and we're very thankful and grateful for all the work that you did to get us here, and we look forward to working with you, and we'll get some things straight, and thank you again. Thank you to all you staff and employees. We appreciate it. Turn it over to Mr. Robideau.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just real quickly, I wanted to tell Lori, I mean, her job has gotten so much worse since I got elected because she, you know, we come in and make her go through so many iterations because she's got both Lowell and I that ask a million questions, and then it comes to you guys, and so she's great about handling that. That's just part of the job. We're trying to get together a budget that is a great starting point for y'all, that y'all can focus on the areas of the budget that y'all want to focus on, knowing that there's been a lot of effort. And so, Lori, to you and all the staff, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate it, because I know we do ask a lot of questions, and there's a lot of iterations before it gets to this point. So thank you for that.
It's much different working for us.
Yeah, different. There you go. That's a nice way to put it. And then lastly, I just want to reiterate that, again, it is a starting point. The most difficult thing, I think, going forward for you guys, because it was also for us, is any changes we make to the operations, because there's fund balance in the city. Unfortunately, it gets allocated to both the city and the parish, and that formula gets really tough because although the city might be able to afford some things, when you plug it in, all of a sudden you're having to make some pretty drastic cuts to the parish budget. And so know that we're aware of that. Certainly we're happy to go back through those iterations with you guys so that y'all know the effect that any changes have. And ultimately we'll come together on you know, whatever changes it is that y'all want to see. But that is the biggest, most difficult piece. If the parish had some fund balance, then you could roll some changes in and both of them could absorb it. It's just not the case. One of them can absorb some of it, and then the other one drops into the negative really fast. So with that, again, just a huge thank you to Laurie and the staff, and thank you all for soldiering through till almost 11 o'clock so we could get the budget presented to you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Castillo.
Thank you, sir. Laura, I've been doing this 11 years, my 11th budget. I know exactly what y'all go through. You do have an amazing staff. And I'm one of those guys who asks for a lot of different things during the budget because I've learned to understand it. So I know exactly what your staff's going through, what you're going through. You're working with a couple of CPAs on your hip. You know, that's tough too, because your numbers can't shift too much because they know you're shifting them. So, but I do thank you and your staff, and I really want them to know that. I used to be an employee for LCG, and I know the dedication that these employees put out day in and day out in all departments. So, but for me personally, I want to thank you and your staff, and every employee who's still here tonight, even Vicky in the back. Thank y'all for staying the rest of the night. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Boudreaux.
Thank you. This is the first time in a long time that we're going through a process where I'm not your finance chair, so good luck with that.
Gotta start somewhere, baby.
Gotta start somewhere, yeah. But seriously, kind of like Councilman Castillo said, the work of the department does not go unnoticed, and not just during budget time, throughout the year. You know, we tease about the awards, but those things don't come easy. And I tell you that your message at the end was touching. You almost made me cry, but I didn't cry. But I know how emotional that is, and to speak of all the employees of LCG. So I couldn't see no better time than any to request you to prepare me a pro forma for a 2% raise across the board in LCG, and I would like a pro forma for a 3% minus any employee who received any pay raise in last year's cycle due to that promotional thing we did in the apprenticeship and what we did in LUS. So and those are for preparation before the end of our process. 2% across the board, 3% minus anyone who received the raise in last year's budget. If you could provide that, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Cole?
Lori, could you provide us with the electronic presentation you made tonight? Just email it to us.
Yes, sir. It is posted on the website, minus the correction we have to make in the morning. But the electronic version of the budget and the presentation should be on right now.
Is it searchable? We've had that request in the past.
PDF searchable. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Councilman Boudreaux?
Oh, I forgot to add, I sent some verbiage to the mayor president for the change in how you could change that line, so you could visit with him. But I sent you some verbiage that I think would be very appropriate.
There you go. Councilman Castillo?
Okay, I've been doing this as my 11th budget. Yeah, every year y'all hide them books in the corner over there. Why y'all hide the books?
You know,
I don't understand that.
because we
I didn't
want
pay
you to
attention
pay
tonight.
we want you to
According
pay
to some
attention.
people.
Because, you know, we tell you what changes are in there, and I really want to make sure you read the budget messages, because that's where all the good stuff is.
I really think if you'd put them in the front right there and tease us all a little bit, just a little bit, make us pay attention a little more.
Oh,
Don't hide in the corner.
I think they're probably still warm from the printer, so.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Councilman Lewis?
Yes, this is about my second or third year on the budget, and I appreciate everything that's being going on and how it's being handled. But I just want to make sure I'm understanding what you were proposing, Mr. Boudreaux.
I'm requesting a pro forma to show what it's gonna cost to give employees a 2% increase
Or
for
3.
all employees. But I also want to see what it's going to cost to give those employees who did not get a raise last year. Remember last year we did apprenticeships, some other promotions,
Promotional costs.
some market stuff. For those who did not benefit from those increases, I want to see what it's going to look like. So I want her to show us those numbers to determine if there's a fit in there somewhere.
Okay, and add to that, I would like to see if you can perform a portfolio where employees will get a 2% raise, but something, even if it's not 2%, but every year retroactive, give them a raise, every year.
You can't give a retroactive raise, but you could give a raise starting at a particular point. So maybe you're looking for a number that's not 2%, maybe you're looking for 4%, you can give me that number.
No, it can be even less than 2%, something that an employee can get every year, because cost of living goes up almost every year. Even if they get 1%, after 10 years, that's 10%. Because, I mean, I've been here for about 3 years, and I've been here, but 4 years, employees have not received a raise.
So you would like me to project what raises would be into the future?
Yeah, even if it be 1% every year, just something, give them
Okay.
something, after the 2%.
I think we could do that.
Yeah,
Just
thank-
based on current information, it would
Right.
be an estimate.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Make it real quick. What major cuts did the parish take in regards to fire protection compared to the 56,000 or whatever we
We-
were given? Was there any,
We did some, and I've had that in my
or reduction,
presentation.
should I say?
We did some across-the-board cuts to some general line items, city and parish, across the board. And the fire department, I believe they were cut about 25%.
Okay, so if they were getting 50,000 or 55, it's about a 12,500 cut across the board for each municipality and volunteers in the unincorporated parish side of the budget, right? General fund.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, yeah, it was a 25, so 98 is gonna be 70, a little over 75,000.
Decent, nothing that we're getting.
50's gonna be down 12.5, so it'll be 38 something. I think the only one we didn't cut, Lafayette gets 10,000, which is far short of what it should get, so I think Lafayette's still at 10.
The volunteers,
All the volunteers and all the other municipalities
25%
took a
cut.
25% cut. That's
Was being
correct.
proposed at this time.
That's right.
In regards to roads or overlays or bond money, there's just nothing.
We didn't cut any of that out of the parish
Okay,
fund.
so that stayed there. And there's not much money to do anything more, add more projects.
I mean, we
Not
have a
without-
fund balance of around 100,000, so,
Right.
and again.
That's my point.
Yeah,
I'm
there's
just-
no, yeah. I
No
mean,
use I send in a request to do all this stuff because,
Yeah,
okay.
I
There-
mean, not
there-
without other cuts.
There is
We'll talk about it later. We're good.
about a little over $1 million in the road and bridge fund. The drainage fund is budgeted at 0. But there's nothing in the general fund for that.
What's that other fund with 9 million, the water?
Stormwater management fund, that's excluding that fund. That fund has the,
Yeah,
We're
we're
doing some
assuming we're gonna
projects
spend
with
that
that-
down to 0. That's right.
Have
That's-
projects identified for that, and we're doing that right now.
That's right.
Okay. That's all I have. Okay. Thank you, Laurie.
All right.
At this time, Laura, you good? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And thank you again, staff and department. At this time, is there any other discussion, any call for public comment? No comments, okay. So I'll make sure I got all the mics on. All right, at this time, we need to call the vote for the council to introduce
District 1?
ordinance. Yes.
District 2? District 3? District 4?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
District 7?
Yes.
Motion to introduce is approved by council.
Okay, at this time, I'm gonna turn the mic over to the vice chair, Ms. Councilwoman Nanette, to get the vote from the LPUA. Go ahead.
Call for the vote. I'd like to call for the vote for the LPUA.
District 3? District 4?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
District 7?
Yes.
District 8? Motion to introduce is approved by LPUA.
Okay, we're gonna adjourn the special joint meeting and now call to the order special LPPA meeting. Introductory ordinance, this is a public hearing and green cards available for anyone wishing to address the LPPA. The 5-minute rule does apply. Jeremy, can you please read?
Ordinance LPPA 237, an ordinance of the Lafayette Public Power Authority adopting and operating in capital budget of revenues and expenditures for the Lafayette, Louisiana Public Power Authority for the fiscal year beginning November 1st, 2018 and ending October 31st, 2019.
Okay, any comments from the public concerning the above introductory ordinance? No, sir. All right, I need a motion and a second.
Second.
Councilman Boudreaux with a motion and a second by Councilwoman Annette Cook. Any LPPA discussion? Seeing none, any public comment? None, please call the vote.
District 1?
Yes.
District 2? District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
District 7?
Yes.
Motion to introduce is approved.
District 1, you had called it, yeah? Okay, yes, all right. Meeting adjourned, have a good evening. Thank you for coming tonight and sticking around. We see you on August the 7th, 2018.